Welcome to the Shay McCray Show with my special guest, Mike B. Jordan. How you doing?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you for joining us. Well, Mike B. Jordan, I know when people see your name a lot, they be like, Michael B. Jordan, what? You know, it's like, it's catchy because, you know, we know a couple people names with Michael B. Jordan, but this might not be the Michael B. Jordan you guys know, all right? This is another one you may know, all right? He has worked for LaFace Records for many years. Journalist, you're the senior editor at the AJC right now, which is, you're going to talk about that because it's a new section on there, which I did not know about. Yeah. And you write and you do a lot. You write your books, okay?
Yep, I have written books, yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your transition from music to being a writer.
Sure. So I started in the mid-90s, which was a magical time for the music industry in Atlanta, the 90s period. So I was lucky enough, I attended Morehouse College and found out, we throw up signs and all that. I was looking for internships in the music industry and found one that I missed a deadline for at So Def, and talked them into accepting my application, wrote an essay, got recommendations, got this internship, and ended up interning for who was then the vice president of A&R for So Def, which turned out to be Lil Jon, King of Crump. Back then he was just Jonathan Smith, Lil Jon still. But interned for almost everybody in Atlanta, worked for free, you know, great experiences, but was at Hot 97.5 when Ludacris was Chris Lover, and he and I were interns for Ryan Cameron, and you know, watched a lot of people come and go through that office, his first hip hop station in Atlanta. Went from there to a studio called Silent Sound. Went from there to an internship at LaFace. Went from an internship at LaFace to getting hired in the marketing department and as a writer, as a copywriter. So basically writing the things that you would see on ads and on billboards and on stickers and all the marketing kind of stuff.
You know, when you think about the music, the record labels, you don't think about the writers that they need.
You think about songwriters.
You think about songwriters, yes.
And when I used to say I was a copywriter, that was like a job that a lot of people probably weren't familiar with. At least in the 90s, at least in our community. So they thought I was like trademark copyright, and they're like, oh, so you copyright music and everything. I'm like, no, it's something else. But just that writing ability and, you know, always being interested in communication. When LaFace closed in 1998 to 2000, well, 2000 was when they closed. I pivoted into media. Internship at CNN from a full-time job at LaFace. And then got my way in the door, started writing more, and found my way to various other publications as a freelancer, but I launched a publication here called Thrillist, and that was in 2008. And from there, I kind of moved in a different direction because that was when digital media was really taking off, and blogs and newsletters. So I had a hyper-local fixation on Atlanta and actionable, recommendable things that you could go do. You came from the world of writing, reading books and all that, and everybody pull out the newspaper. Now we're in that digital space where everything is online. Magazines are not even printing no more. They're online magazines. We still have a few, but I mean, are they really making money? Because everything is so accessible, and sometimes the same story is being covered online. How does that work for you, or how was that the transitioning from doing it from back then to now? Even the key words that you might have to use now is probably different, right? Just to capture what they call that clickbait, so you could capture that title so people could click on that article. How has that work for you as far as transitioning from then to now? That's a really good question. Going from print to digital between, you know, the mid-aughts, 2000s to about 2010, when you started to see the rise of all the BuzzFeeds and everything else. That was a hard time for the print industry because people don't realize a lot of print advertising comes from companies that got hit during the recession, like the automobile industry. You look at magazines, usually in the first couple of pages you might see Ford or Toyota or something. So when they got hit in 2008, when the recession hit, that was a lot of money that came out of the pockets of print. Also the rise of Craigslist, which took a lot of the advertising dollars.
Oh yeah, I brought up Craigslist recently because don't judge me, but Craigslist back then they had this section on there was where you go to, I think it was other, and they used to have misconnections, and you go click.
Not that I know what you're talking about. I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah, I do know what you're talking about.
I
was just yeah.
And then you'll click on that, and it'll say, "I saw you at the gas station pumping your gas this morning."
That's hilarious.
No, it is so serious.
Yeah.
So everyone went to Craigslist for everything.
Yeah, they did.
Like whether you wanted to buy furniture, whether you wanted to look for a job,
That's
whether
right.
you was looking to hire someone. Craigslist was like the go-to spot anywhere in the U.S. if you wanted,
right.
Anywhere.
And because of that, and they were a classified section, they still are. It's like that's what happens. That was ad money for print.
Yep.
So like thinking about now in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, we were going to stop printing except for on weekends and on Sundays. That was a conversation, I believe. It paused for a minute, but they're back to every day of the week now.
They're back to every day?
Every day of the week there's a printed newspaper. That's because, again, there's still appetite out there, not just among audiences for a print paper.
Yes.
There's still budget out there to advertise because it's just a long-standing thing that certain people, especially older people who have a little bit more money to spend, that's what they like.
They get in the newspaper.
And then you have the whole problem of digital things tend to be sort of quick hit and, going on and on. There's still a quality level that you will see in print stories.
Okay.
So a digital piece is not really made to stand and to last. When a print piece is made to, you're holding it in your hand, you can get a bunch of information, and it's sort of like a comprehensive thing.
It is.
Digital is usually faster,
It's
keep
faster,
your
the
attention,
articles are
keep it
shorter,
rolling. Yeah.
And it's about that headline that really captures your attention. And if you usually get stuck on the first couple sentences, and then that's it, you move on.
That's right.
With the newspaper, you're usually reading the whole article, going through the whole paper, right?
Yeah, it's a habit.
It's a habit.
When you wake up in the morning, you have your coffee, you feed the dog, you read the newspaper, or whatever
You
you're
still
doing.
read the newspaper?
I do still read the newspaper. All of my stories that have ever been in print at the AJC or anywhere else, I've kept them. So I keep all copies of my work.
Really?
Because, another reason is, in today's day and age, a website might go down tomorrow. And if all your work is online at this website and they go out of business and they just shut the site down, did you have any copies of your work? When you save a PDF, it kind of looks funky sometimes.
You got to screenshot it. That's the
You do, but yeah, that's right. But if you ain't on your game, so screenshot it and save a copy if you're in print. No, I love print. I have some stuff framed that I've written that showed up in print on like the front page of the Wall Street Journal. So that's still special. It's still for a journalist. It's cool to see your work in printed form. It is.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would suppose so. If I'm doing some work, even just modeling, you want to see yourself on print, not just online, you want to be able to see that full cover. I love it.
It feels more permanent sometimes.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. And it is permanent, but the internet is permanent too.
In a very strange way.
Yeah.
That's right. Digital things can last forever. So that's right.
So have you ever written for like any other major magazines like Black Enterprise, Forbes, or any of those?
Oh yeah, I've written many years. I've written for Southern Living.
Okay.
Done some stuff on Buford Highway.
That.
You know what? Southern Living story I wrote, no cap, was the most read story. My dad and my mom saw it. Like everybody saw that story. I have stories in the Wall Street Journal. It was about it was about Buford Highway. So I did a big piece on sort of like the reason why Buford Highway is this amazing place in Atlanta that we should take more advantage of, and sort of the restaurants that made it and historically. I also did a trip to Lafayette, Louisiana, for crawfishing, and everybody saw that. So again, folks who like Southern Living love it. But I wrote a big story about food in the American South for National Geographic Traveler.
Nice.
So that's in the UK. So I'm explaining American Southern food for British and other people across the pond, as they say.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're a foodie because that's like the third time you mentioned food, restaurants. Are you a foodie?
I'm not gonna say I'm not a foodie, but everybody's a foodie now.
Okay.
And so what I like to tell people is anybody can be a foodie, but if you're gonna report on food, you need to take it up a little bit higher than a foodie because everybody eats. I hope so. But for foodies, there's more of a enjoying the experience and just sort of like making it something that you're having, you know, showing off. For if you're gonna do food journalism, you got to think a little bit more critically. It's not to say there's nothing wrong with being a foodie, but you have to go above and beyond just sort of like, oh, look at this appetizer, isn't it beautiful? It flexes for the gram, you know.
So what are your thoughts on Keith Lee?
I think he was very necessary for Atlanta.
So you agree with some of the things that he had to say? I
100% agree. I have a story that'll probably be out on the streets by the time the great audience here sees this. But no, Keith Lee, we can have disagreements about Keith Lee's methods, how he chooses to go where he goes, how he judges restaurants, because he tends to be in his car and it's carry-out food. So some people think that's not comprehensive. But the truth is that in Atlanta, over the last several years, I've interviewed a lot of people on and off the record, and the consensus that I saw was that most people are promoting or saying they like or sharing on social media restaurants that they really don't think have high quality. And we have to snap out of that if we want to be a serious dining city, because we are a global city. So when he came, I just saw that everyone spoke up. And the thing is, if there wasn't some truth to what he was saying, he would have came and gone and it wouldn't have been very much fanfare. So there was honesty in it, and I think he's very transparent, which is great. But no, I agree with everything he said? Probably not. But I love that he
And it's all about
some
personal
things.
preference too. It's all about what you like, your taste buds, how you feel.
Food is subjective.
Everything is based on the perceiving, no matter what, you know. So I mean, if you know, I think that customer service was the biggest thing for me when he talked about that, and that is a big deal here in Atlanta. You don't get that, especially when you go into restaurants, especially when the tip is included. You know, that is a big deal. Tip included is over. You already know the customer service is gonna suck, you know? So now, do you ever like plan to give like maybe your feedback on some of the restaurants that you go to more and write articles on that?
Oh, I do. Yeah. I, recently, last year, I did a review for a magazine, a big magazine here called. It was on Holman and Finch, which just reopened in Colony Square. Very famous restaurant in Atlanta, and became well known nationwide because of this cheeseburger they used to put out at the bar like around 9 or 9:30 every night. And it was a limited number, and if you got them, you got them. If you didn't, you didn't. You had to come back and get it. That ended up becoming H&F Burger, but again, it's a very big storied thing that got us some national attention in Atlanta. So I did a review on them. At the end of the year at Eater, I tend to be called on to give my opinions and thoughts on things. Again, what I'm talking about with the Keith Lee situation for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is sort of like what it took to report on this story, and why I feel like I'm able to speak on something when normally I do a lot of big picture things. See, food is culture. And
so that's one of the things with being in Atlanta versus being up north. You miss the culture of the food. It has nothing to do with how beautiful the restaurant's set up. You know, none of that. It's all about the culture and the food. So, and I think that's one of the things Atlanta's missing.
I think we have more culture in the dining experience than we have quality sometimes. So again, there's a lot of conversation now because Keith Lee made it popular, or safe to say it, with the grass-walled restaurant. You know, and everyone has a grass wall now. And that's not just a black thing, but especially in our culture, everyone was like, you know what, I need a grass wall in here, and I can start charging people $40 for these lamb chops as opposed to $25. So, you know, again, that's one of my critiques of Atlanta's dining scene, is that many times we are doing it for the gram and not for our own taste buds and our own expectations of high levels of service. And again, if you're going to put a gratuity in my bill anyway, I expect you to meet what I
expect, right? Yes. But that's not happening. No. All right.
We're getting better, though. I think this is going to be a turnaround year. I do.
I don't know about that.
I think the more we are open and honest in Keith Lee's impact here, and the more journalists, because even our food and dining section at the AJC, you know, we cover a lot of things. And a lot of foodies and a lot of influence and everything, we talk about it a lot. But I think the criticism is being heard.
It's being heard.
So, and I think with Michelin now being in Atlanta, with last year an Atlanta chef, in Decatur, the Deer and the Dove, won the best chef in the Southeast for the James Beard Awards. those kind of things are putting good pressure on Atlanta to just make sure we're doing our best work in the food sector.
Well, before we get to the James Beard Award, I want to back up a little bit. You talked about the section with the food section. Now, you actually write for a very particular section in the AJC that is brand new right now. Yes, and what is that?
So it is a Black culture franchise. So we, at the AJC, we now have, for the first time in history, a Black editor-in-chief of the entire Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Oh, we do?
Yes, his name is Leroy Chapman.
Okay,
He's been there
Leroy.
for a while. Yeah, shout out to Leroy. All right, Leroy, that's right. But Leroy is amazing as a leader. We have a new publisher who came from CNN. His name is Andrew Morse. We have new managing editors who are Black as well. We have a brand new team. We're hiring like crazy. A lot of people in media are not, so it makes it very different. But what the AJC realizes is, in a city like Atlanta, which was for a long time majority Black, now it's plurality Black, but still it's more Black people here than anybody else.
Anywhere else, yeah.
If you're not speaking directly to them and covering their culture in a way that truly absorbs and reflects it, then you're not going to get the same amount of engagement. So it's sort of like they realize that, Black editor-in-chief and everyone else is helping us to build this thing. So I just get the pleasure of leading that team, and I'm writing, of course. It means the world to me because I love the city for the Black culture that we have, which influences not just the world, but everything in it.
What's some of the things you have covered in the past?
Oh, I've covered everything from the Atlanta Police Training Center, which everyone's saying Cop City. I've covered the Greenwood and Gathering Spot breakup. I actually covered the announcement of that deal for the Wall Street Journal. I covered their recent breakup at the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And that was a
Wait a
big
minute.
story.
So they're the Gathering Spot and what you talking about, the venue?
Greenwood, yep.
They're not a partnership no more?
They are not in partnership anymore. And actually just recently, one of my colleagues, Mirtha Dornestorg, she wrote about there was a split a few months ago, back in July. They announced that they were going to try to work things out and work together. And then they recently announced that the Gathering Spot has gone back fully independent. So, because
they have one in D.C. as well,
that's correct.
Right?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So did that have anything to do with one in Greenwood, or no? Like the partnership?
I believe, there was, I don't know that had anything to do with the DC location, because they also have a Los Angeles location.
Yes, I do know about the Los Angeles.
So no, I think that whatever's going on, it's a developing story. And they are just now starting to talk a little bit, but there was some litigation involved. So not everyone wants to talk when they're still.
I know it's not one. No, there's a couple investors that came together, right? Because I think maybe it's about 20 founders of the Gathering Spot. They all collectively put together or something like that?
There may be. I don't know the exact number of the people who invested, but the two main founders are Ryan Wilson and TK Peterson.
Okay.
So they're the two guys, and really you see Ryan Wilson most of the time.
Yes, you do.
So yeah, but they're the two people who are out front and leading the company.
Are they African American?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. Because I mean, you could tell it's an African American venue, but it's a great one. No, it's
they
one
have
of
great wings. Yeah. They have great wings. Yeah, one actually on some foodie stuff. A publication in D.C. said that the Gathering Spot had the best wings in D.C.
Really?
A couple years ago. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they have good old fashions too. Do you drink old fashions?
I do. I drink a couple things. Yeah.
I didn't want to get in your business.
It's too early on. I'm a tequila. I'm a tequila girl. I need that. You give me that too. But I also just found out you could do mezcal. You can make an old fashioned with mezcal. Yes. I just found out.
Oh.
With
you can do all kind of things. But no, mezcal old fashioned is very good.
I heard it's very smoky. Yes,
right.
It's much smokier. Yeah. So that's what's up. We might need a drink over here.
We should have.
We should have.
This
right?
ain't my show. You know what I mean? Like next time you come on the Mike Jordan show, we're gonna
I'm coming to the Mike Jordan.
Yeah,
okay.
The cup's gonna be brown, so you can't see what's really going on.
Okay. All right, y'all heard it here. We in the AJC next in that article.
We love to have Shay McCray on the AJC's Black Culture Channel. I hope you come when we start doing our stuff.
Absolutely. All right. I say yes.
All right.
All right. So let's get into more. Let's elaborate more into the James Beard Foundation Award. 2023. You had some notable. You was finalists. Right?
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. So the James Beard Awards, it's a foundation, and their awards are what they're mostly known for, I would say is fair. tends to be, top chefs in America, top restaurants in America, all of these sorts of things. They also do media awards as well, and book awards. So I was nominated and made it to the finals for what's called the Jonathan Gold Local Voice Award, which is coverage of a specific city. And so I had 3 stories that rose to the top, and it was one about sort of the history of the West End in Atlanta, having vegetarian and vegan sort of
yes,
taste
it's getting there. I know where to get my vegan food. I always go to the West End.
That's right. And a lot of people didn't realize that, strangely enough. So I wrote a story about it and how it's historically been this place for vegetarian and veganism. Also wrote about how in Atlanta and other places, but I profiled a place in Atlanta, Auto Spa Bistro, for how car washes
over there on 14th Street.
You know where it is. That's right.
I don't know about that. They drinks. One time I ordered a shot. My bill was $32. I was like, hey, you know how long I sipped on that shot for the whole hour it took to wash my car. I was like,
yeah. I mean, it's a novelty. Look, it's a novelty. I mean, most car washes don't have a shot. They don't have lamb chops and everything, but Auto Spa Bistro does.
Yeah.
So it was just showing how car washes have gotten smart at offering food and that type of service in what they're doing.
You sitting there and you waiting for your car. You might as well.
That's exactly what the owner said. He was like, I realized he realized he was missing revenue from people going to Starbucks or whatever. And the third story I did was a story on, what was my third story? There was the West End vegan. There was it was a interview with an original employee from Pascal's, the soul food restaurant.
Do they have original employees?
One, yeah.
They have one.
They have one still
Is
there.
it cook?
Yes, he's the host. So and he actually doesn't work full time, but he's around all the time. But he was there when the Pascal brothers first opened. His name is Ebby Marshall Slack. So older, very cool gentleman. But he's been there since the doors opened.
Wow, so, that's one of my good.
But I've been writing about food for a long time. I just think that it's a place where, especially for Black writers, we need to understand it as part of culture because it tells so many stories about where our food is from and the soil. About how our food gets to us and food deserts and gentrification. Who has culinary art and talent and what they do with that. But again, the base of most American culinary art is from Black people because we were cooking the meals way back in the day.
Already know.
So we don't think about it, but unfortunately we're underrepresented on the writing and editing side for whatever reason. I think I know why, but that's one of the things that I like writing about food about. I'm careful not to automatically say I'm just a food journalist. I'm a culture journalist who writes about food through the lens of culture. And I love when Black people do that.
Slutty Vegan?
What about it?
Did you ever write about Slutty Vegan?
I have mentioned Slutty Vegan in some stories. So yes, I did write about it when they first opened.
Remember the line, 2 hour, 3 hour wait to get a burger?
I do remember. Yeah,
it was worth it
I never
too.
did
I don't
that
know
line.
why right now. We might have to talk to her about some things. I wonder why Keith didn't go to Slutty Vegan.
That's a great question.
Or how you say Pascal's? Because that's always been a controversy too. How to say that restaurant?
Yeah, this is the thing.
That's another staple here in Atlanta.
It is. I mean, Busy Bee. There's a bunch of places that
you can't move around in Busy Bee.
No, because everybody's there. Yeah. Everybody wants the food. That was
one of my favorites when I first came.
Yeah, there's a line out the door before it opens in the morning.
Before it opens in the morning.
Yeah.
Well, I see you have put a lot of people on a great platform, and I love you for that. But right now we're at our question of the day, so put the spot on you a little bit.
All right.
I'm gonna have you just reach your hand in here and grab a question. And this is when we get a little bit more personal. I don't know what's in there. I don't know who wrote those questions. I ain't got nothing to do with it.
Can I look at it?
You go read it.
Okay.
And you gonna tell us what you think.
Do you sleep with clothes on or clothes off? This is a really good question because, I'm married. My daughter is 12, but she still might come in because my daughter loves me dead. She might come in and hug me in the morning and everything like that. So I can't be in there naked with sheets on. So I prefer to sleep, in the way that God intended. But I do have on some boxers and usually like a tank top or something like that. Because,
and it's because of the kid.
Yeah, but if I could.
When
she's out of town and when they're gone, oh man, it's like risky business, but a little bit less censored. You know what I mean? Like I'll be around it. You might see me in a robe in my house. That's about all I'm gonna get. Maybe some slides, but nah. the good Lord intended for us to be who we truly are, our natural selves.
Yeah.
And at nighttime, you know, I think that's important. You know,
How about
you get
for
a
your
different
spouse?
rest.
Do you like her to clothes on or off?
You know, like my wife is beautiful. I love her in either way she is around, clothes on or off. You know, I think she's a gorgeous woman. I get a lot of credit because people look at me and they see my wife, they're like, wow, look at you, Mike. I'm like, oh, so what, I'm supposed to not have a very beautiful wife?
Right, what you
like
trying to say,
yeah,
right? Let
wife,
them know.
I have a very good looking wife. She's beautiful.
All right, well, we got to get up out of here. I do want to cover some of the books that you have written as well and how we can get to those books as well.
Oh, excellent. Well, so I have actually yet to write my own book, but I have co-authored several books. So the most recent book that I co-authored was retired NFL linebacker Takeo Spikes. I don't know if you know him. Takeo asked me to co-write a book that he wrote a couple years ago. I've co-written a book with Erica Reed, who is L.A. Reid's wife, about parenting and raising children. I've written quite a few, but most of my work has been in print and digital journalism. So, but I do some books. Now, my wife, again, her name is Jacinta Howard. She's wrote 12 books. And she's pretty big on the independent new adult fiction romance circuit. But she was also, we're both journalists. She was an entertainment editor at Upscale for a long time. She's written for all those Essence
What's
and
her name
Ebony's.
again?
Jacinta Howard.
Oh, Jacinta. Sound familiar. Seems like I know her.
She's been, if you've been in Atlanta, you've seen her name around a lot. She's just kind of very low key. She ain't all out in the middle of the cameras like I am.
Okay. All right. She said, you want the camera. You got to have the camera.
Yeah, she wants the money. Yeah.
That she wants to send me the money. I know that's right. Well, I thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
It's
I love this. I love being on your show.
You love being on my show?
Yeah, and you look great, by the way.
Thank
I
you.
was noticing you got your feet all moisturized and your skin's popping off with light. I'm just like, man, Shay
We're
ain't
not
come to
going to
play.
talk about the voice.
Hey, man,
they kept
I
laughing at
appreciate
me yesterday. They said, you were shining. You just shining.
I don't know if we're supposed to tell the audience, but it's wintertime and Shay's out here looking like the sun is shining on you. I mean, it's hard to keep good skin in
It's hard to keep, listen.
You're doing a good job.
It's called moisturize. You know, I'm going to be honest with you right now. I got on something different. But if you just stick to the Vaseline, the good old-fashioned Vaseline, does the trick all the time.
If it gets too cold, you do a little Aquaphor, too. You rub that.
Aquaphor?
That's the next step up from the Vaseline.
Okay. I got it. That's a little thick, right?
Yeah, it is. That's what I mean. Like, if you need a little extra layer, you start with the Vaseline and then come across the top with a little bit of that Aquaphor.
All right. I'll make note of that. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here, Mike B. Jordan. I really appreciate you. Thank you guys for tuning in.